Hi, I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and this is my review of Dragonbane, The Path of Glory. Let's roll it. All right, 3 quick points before I begin. First, I received a review copy from Free League for this review. I have not, however, been given any other sort of payment beyond the copy of the material for the review. And while I am grateful for the review copy, these are my free and fair thoughts as always. Second, thank you so much to everyone who watches, likes, comments, and subscribes to DM Tales. You all help make this channel go. And if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. It helps DM Tales get seen by the almighty algorithm. And if you'd like to give DM Tales some direct support, would you consider maybe becoming a coffee contributor? Channel members help me continue making fun content for this channel. And then third, I am not going to be going into huge plot points for this review because I will be running this adventure path for my Dragonbane group at some point in the future, and I don't want to tempt them to discover spoilers that I post. You have been warned. Let's get to the review. The Path of Glory is an updated set of adventures dating back to the original version of Dragonbane, Dragons and Demons, back in 1985. There is a short foreword in the book written by the author of those original adventures, Roger Undhagen. I'm going to butcher that name, so I'm trying it. But that's at the beginning of the book, in which he expresses his gratitude for bringing their adventures to their final form. His comments highlight that this book is more than a port of old adventures to the present system. There actually have been some additions made. Dragonbane feels so fresh and fun that it's easy to forget that this game itself is over 40 years old. Pretty cool. This adventure path is not designed for a brand new adventurer. So if you roll up a character and toss them in without any upgrades, they are going to die fast. Free League recommends that characters have played between 10 and 15 sessions, have a minimum of 16 and some core skills, and have at least 3 heroic abilities before tackling the Path of Glory. The party should also have a couple of magic weapons, which will make their lives easier. If the group has gone through the Misty Vale campaign, they should be equipped enough to tackle these adventures. But if this is not the case, the GM can run some sessions as the characters journey towards the Path of Glory's starting point, or they can just give the players extra advancement rolls at the beginning to bring them up to snuff. It's really, either way works. This adventure path is set a good distance north of the Misty Vale in a region that is split east-west by impassable mountains called the Heaven's Rim Mountains. To the west of this range is the Dead Forest where the story begins, and to the east of the mountains is the Eastern Land. Long ago, there was a great war between the Dragon Emperor, allied with the 4 firstborn peoples, the elves, dwarves, orcs, and halflings, and the demon Sothmog. The demon had established a demonic realm and empowered his human servants to advance their technology and expand their territory, but the Dragon Emperor Eladane and his allies drove the demon back and defeated him. Not, however, before Sothmog was able to cast a curse on the forest in which he was defeated. This forest became corrupt and lifeless, and the blight began expanding. Many believe, unless it's stopped, that this blight will expand to consume the whole world. When the war ended, the 4 firstborn peoples went their separate ways, not knowing that an ancient evil artifact had been saved by a demonic agent. 800 years after the war, 3 mages became fascinated with the stories of this ancient artifact and began to search for it together. But, as is typical with quest for power, their friendship transformed eventually into bitter rivalry. With their friendship shattered, the 3 mages forgot all about the lore of this ancient artifact until, that is, just before the characters joined the story. The adventure begins as the party arrives at the Dead Forest in search of treasure. In so doing, they get swept up into the current of history itself. Path of Glory is a single story in 3 parts, and as such, there are certain elements of the adventures which can feel a little bit like a railroad. But to label the entire adventure path that way would be a misrepresentation. Each of the 3 adventures has an open ended structure. Players may explore locations as they will and draw whatever conclusions they wish. There's also no guarantee they will succeed, and their path through each adventure will impact what happens in the next. So rather than label the Path of Glory as a railroad, I refer to it as a progressive campaign. The path is sequential, but how the party moves through each step in the sequence is up to them. Also, as I mentioned, there's no expectation that the party is going to succeed at reaching all their goals, and this is going to create ongoing consequences moving forward that can extend the campaign. The first adventure in the path, The Dead Forest, takes place in the eponymous location. But the forest name is really only partly true. The center of the forest is indeed dead, but the outer ring is ripe with life. The characters arrive at an inn called the Hungry Hobgoblin as the adventure gets underway. This inn serves as a base of operations while the party explores the forest. They may both rest and recover, as well as purchase equipment and provisions as needed. The forest itself is inhabited with a number of named NPCs the party may encounter throughout their explorations. Some are friendly, others are hostile, and still more indifferent to the party's presence. Many of these NPCs can be encountered through a random encounter roll, which should happen once per shift, or in specific locations. As the party travels throughout the forest and explores different sites, they should begin to get woven into the web of relationships which has been spun throughout the area. The ultimate draw which brought the party to the forest is the story of the curse in the center of the woods, which threatens to cover the entire world, and the hint that there is an artifact under the mountain which can lift the curse. But to acquire that artifact, they need to find out the location of the doors which open the path under the mountain, and to do that, they also need to learn how to open them. This first adventure in this path is a typical sandbox setup. The party has a goal, and to fulfill that goal, they need to explore the area and interact with its denizens. The second part of the adventure takes place under the mountains and alters the gameplay more towards exploration and stealth. Part 3 moves into a brand new area, which I will not describe here so as to avoid spoilers. I will say the final act in the story will challenge the party in whole new ways. Really, really cool. Looming over each of these 3 adventures are different factions, including the aforementioned mages, which are connected to the artifact for which the party is searching. A group's chances at success is going to depend on how they interact with these different factions. While players who crave combat will not be disappointed, roleplay is every bit as important on this journey and seeing it to a successful conclusion. Path of Glory's physical build matches the other products in the Dragonbane line. It is a full-sized book, 8.5 by 11 inches, weighing in at 158 pages. It's printed on glorious, non-glossy paper. Thank you so much, Free League. And it's stitched bound, so it opens well. My only knock on the physical build is one that's also carried across the Dragonbane line as well. There's no book ribbon. Bummer. The cover is wrapped with some glorious Dragonbane artwork by the artist who also did the cover for the Dragonbane bestiary. I'll put his name up here because I will butcher it as an American speaker who just cannot pronounce names worth my life. The 2 Minotaurs, as with all Dragonbane artwork, is a perfect fit for the line. Now, there are folks for whom Dragonbane's art style is a little bit too cartoony, and I can't say that they're wrong because personal aesthetic isn't objective. It's just we like what we like, right? But I will say for me, the artwork in the Dragonbane line is one of its biggest draws. I appreciate the exaggerated menace. A nice design touch is in the blurb on the rear cover, which describes how the creatures depicted on the front cover may actually be encountered in the adventure. That is really well done. The interior cover pages depict 2 of the adventure path's maps. The front cover displays the Dead Forest, while the rear cover is a map of the final adventure's region. Included with the book is a 2-sided map, which presents both the aforementioned maps in a larger format. It is a quality product. Path of Glory utilizes the design language that's common across the entire Dragonbane line as well. The body font is a pleasant-looking serif, while the heading font is a decorative serif font with sharp edges and angles. Really cool looking. The book also shares Dragonbane's hand-drawn decorative elements for call-out titles, labels, title pages, drop caps, table decorations, and footers. These common elements help draw the entire line together, and they make the book feel inviting. The header decorations, while still in Dragonbane's style, change for each adventure. Included in the center is a decoration which corresponds to the current step on the path. These blend in really well, and they are a wonderful visual cue which identifies each of the book's sections. It's very cool. The location maps are also cut from the same Dragonbane cloth as the other books in the line. They are attractive, they're easy to navigate, and with enough detail to be interesting without being overwhelming. The whole thing is excellent. I love using Dragonbane maps for adventures. The interior artwork is, again, really fitting with the rest of the Dragonbane line. Each portrait and scene depiction feels like a watercolor image, but with stronger reds and greens instead of the pastels that I would normally associate with that style. The different pieces each have distressed edges, which blends them into the background texture, which adorns each of the pages. It's really cool. The book as a whole, as with every Dragonbane product, is stunning. I am so glad to have it on my shelf. If you haven't figured it out by now, I love this book, and I also love the way the adventure path is designed. In fact, as I said, when my current Dragonbane table is finished with their adventures in the Misty Vale, we will be tackling Path of Glory. It's going to be fun to see how well or not so well the party does. So if you want to give your players a challenging adventure path which requires those at the table to interact with the world around their characters with both depth and wisdom, Path of Glory is a terrific pickup. You can purchase Path of Glory from Free League's website for about $44. Terrace might be changing that in the near future, who knows? And as with other Free League products, purchasing the physical book also grants you access to the PDF. The PDF alone can be purchased through DriveThruRPG. That is my affiliate link right there, and you can purchase that for $15.99. If you run Dragonbane, this is worth a serious look. Coming up, I am so pleased to finally have the Path of Glory video review up on my channel. After this, I will be recording my Monty Python's co-curricular medieval reenactment program review. That should be a lot of fun. Tales of Argosa is going to come up after that. And then I'm probably going to Never Going Home, followed by Rust and Redemption. And then I'm going to get to Project Sunflower. That should take me well into July. That should be a lot of fun. There's so many cool books. There's so many cool games. I cannot wait to share them all with you. Thank you so much for being on this ride, folks. And until we see each other again, happy playing, everyone.